Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Edna.
And I'm Isabel Wong. Let's take a look at tonight's top stories. Tens of thousands of commuters affected by MTR signal failure.
Democratic Party lawmaker Ted Ho charged with 3 offences.
And Chief Executive Carrie Lam said there's no need to decide how big the Lantau reclamation scheme should be.
Horror and frustration for tens of thousands of commuters in the morning rush hour after a large-scale signal failure crippled the majority of urban services on the MTR network.
Passengers were packed like sardines at stations as 4 rail lines broke down at the same time. The chaos lasted 6 hours before services gradually resumed at around noon. Yupina Ng reports.
Public transport chaos once again, as 3 rail lines on the MTR network broke down right off the bat this morning. Thousands of commuters were stranded at Kowloon Tong as crowd control arrangements were imposed. Services on the Island Line, Kwun Tong Line and Chuen Wan Line were reduced to 8-minute intervals compared to every 2 minutes from 6:15 a.m. after a signaling fault was detected at the Operations Control Center. It got from bad to worse an hour later, as frequency was down to every 12 to 15 minutes, although many passengers complained they had waited much longer to board a train. I find it very annoying, this man said. I thought the MTR should be able to prevent this kind of chaos. I have actually waited for 40 minutes to hop on a train, this passenger said. I don't know what's the deal with the MTR. Across the harbour in Admiralty and interchange for the Chuen Wan and Island lines, passengers had to wait for half an hour for a train.
I mean, we pay for the MTR. They're earning a lot of money, so there shouldn't be any delays. We don't expect it, but it happens.
Just when technicians were struggling to contain the situation, the Chung Kwan O line became the 4th line to break down. Through its broadcast system, the railway firm repeatedly advised passengers to use alternative transport to avoid a long wait at the station. Out of sight they might be, but not out of mind. As hordes of commuters switched to buses, the road network simply couldn't cope. At the Cross Harbour Tunnel interchange in Hong Ham, the line of passengers stretched as far as anyone could see. They say money doesn't buy you everything, especially not time here, as a long queue built up at the taxi stand outside Kowloon Tong station. I've been waiting for over an hour but still couldn't get a cab, this man said. Train services for the 4 urban lines eventually resumed normal at around 11:45 a.m., 6 hours after the signal glitch was first discovered. Yupinam, HKIBC.
Overseas experts will be asked to look into how a signal failure had paralyzed 4 rail lines and caused a 6-hour delay in train services across the city, the MTR said.
Meanwhile, half-price fares will be introduced on a selected day as a one-off compensation measure. Here's Yupina Ng.
Hours after a signal failure was announced, MTR bosses said they were still not entirely sure what exactly had gone wrong. They did try to explain what had slowed down the trains. It turns out speed commands from computers could not be relayed to trains on the 4 rail lines, meaning drivers had to manually operate the trains.
A single failure should not affect more than just a sector in a line. And sometimes it might affect the whole line, but it has never affected more than one line. So that's why it is so unique today.
Describing the problem as unprecedented, Cam said the railway company would bring in overseas experts to study the matter. It would take the MTR 2 months to deliver an investigation report, he added. Speaking to the press before her weekly cabinet meeting today, Chief Executive Carrie Lam did not say how the government would follow up on the matter, as she did not know the reasons behind the failure. The city's leader again called on employers not to penalize late staff. Under the current penalty mechanism, the MTR faces a maximum fine of $25 million for service disruptions lasting 31 minutes or longer. But Michael Tian, who chairs Let's Go's Railway Subcommittee, questioned whether the current penalty mechanism had enough deterrent effect.
I think it's time we review the delay penalty system. I think we should somehow relate the penalty to the loss of productivity.
Before it was hit with a penalty, the railway giant was determined to restore the public's confidence. The MTR announced it would slash fares by half on a day, to be announced later as a token of apology. Upinam, HKIBC.
Democratic Party lawmaker Ted Hui has been charged by police after he allegedly snatched a government officer's phone in the Legislative Council in April.
If Ho ended up in jail for over a month, he could lose his seat as a lawmaker. Riley Chan reports.
Half a year after he allegedly snatched a mobile phone from a government officer at the Legislative Council, Ted Hui was officially charged by police today. The Democratic Party lawmaker was charged with common assault, accessing a computer with criminal or dishonest intent, and obstructing a public officer from performing official duties. He was released on bail and was set to appear at Eastern Magistrates Court next Tuesday. Back in April, Hui allegedly grabbed the phone from the hands of a Security Bureau female officer before dashing into a men's bathroom. Hui reportedly seized the phone to check what information the executive officer had been collecting. He had complained that the government was monitoring the activities of lawmakers as they were scrutinizing